Yo guys, quick PSA before we dive into this video. I just dropped probably one of the most comprehensive spy baiting videos on all of YouTube, so go over, check that thing out. I got together with my boy Alex Rudd and Mr. David Swenside from Duo Realis, the man that helped invent spy baiting, bring it over from Japan, and super comprehensive. Talk about everything from the introduction to how to fish it, to basically just David Swenside's crazy brain. He's a super brilliant man, so go over, check that video out. It's long, it's 2.5 hours, but there's a lot of really unique tidbits of information that I think you guys can take and apply to both spy baiting as well as just your general fishing applications to make you a better angler. So go check that thing out, linked up here in the corner. Now let's dive into today's video. What is going on, everyone? My name is Benjamin Nowak, and this is the Smallmouth Experience, coming at you guys with a little bourbon and bass fishing unboxing. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, this is the Smallmouth Experience. We are a 100% smallmouth bass fishing focused channel. Now, why I'm doing this unboxing is because this is a 100% smallmouth focused company, which I think is really cool. I've never seen a company that focuses on a very small niche market and comes out with products that are dedicated to the style of fishing that I like to do. And I know a lot of you guys are smallmouth junkies. You guys are smallmouth heads just like me, so there's some cool products in here that I think will give you guys advantages when you're out there on the water. Let's kind of keep this ball rolling. Let's hit that subscribe button if you're not already, because we just broke 20,000. Let's hit 50,000, 100,000 people that are following the Smallmouth Experience, and hit that subscribe if you guys love smallmouth or love seeing giant smallmouth being caught, because that's what I try to bring to you guys on this channel, as well as maybe some lifestyle stuff mixed in here and there. But without further ado, let's kind of dive into the company that I'm going to be talking about, and that is Venture Lures. This is not by any means a sponsored video. Michael Simonton, the owner of Venture Lures, doesn't even know that I'm doing this. I just think these are really cool baits, and the way that he approaches his bait making is really unique. These are not mass produced. These are not baits you can go buy the mold of and pour a bunch of your own. These are all hand carved, hand poured baits that are very specific for the style of fishing that Michael likes to do and that we like to do as smallmouth anglers. So I'm going to dive into some of these baits and explain to you guys what I like. I've not fished with any of these, but some things that kind of intrigued me about these baits, and I basically got on the phone with Michael the other day and tried to figure out the difference in some of these baits so I can talk to you guys intelligently about the ways that you guys can fish some of these different drop shot baits, which I geek out over. Well, the first thing I want to show you guys is what's called the Steady Swimmer. So the Steady Swimmer is like Venture Lures' top selling product. It's basically a small swim bait. What's so cool about this is hand poured, so it's super soft, but they're coming really small sizes. Like this is a 2.75 inch size, and the other size that he has in here is the 3 1/4 size. So they're a lot smaller than a lot of swim baits that you can get on the market, but they have a really nice action because they are hand poured. And what I'm super excited about is basically having a company that's making a small little swim bait like this, because there's not really a whole bunch of companies that has something sort of in that range that actually has a good action. I mean, you have the Megabass Spark Shad, you have sort of the Kitech Easy Shiner and Kitech Swing Impact Fat, but this is something a little bit different in a hand pour, which makes it a softer plastic and has a really unique action. So I'm excited to get on the water with these swim baits and kind of put them to use and see how they swim as compared to other swim baits that you can kind of get more mass produced. So this is the first color. It's called Swifty. It's basically like a clear side, a little bit of brown back, and then chartreuse on the belly. The next color that I'm going to pull out of here in that same 2 3/4 inch size looks like a chartreuse perch color. Super unique. And what's so cool is that these are all hand poured, so none of them are exactly the same. You have that little bit darker back, chartreuse down the side, and a little bit of orange on the belly there. Looks like a perch. This is going to work awesome when that water gets a little bit off color, but those fish are still feeding up on bait fish. This is going to be a really cool bait that I'm excited to throw around and kind of see how fish react to it. Next up is this color here. Like, as you can see, I don't know all of the color names, so I'm just going to talk to you guys about what the color looks like, and you guys can find it if you want to. But it's basically entirely translucent, little chartreuse on the back and purple dot right there with a little bit of flake. This to me is going to be an awesome color when you're fishing clean water situations and you just want to kind of creep that thing up in the water column. Again, it's a very small profile. It's going to look super natural when these fish are feeding on those little alewives and those little bait fish or shiners up in the column, and these fish are really keyed in on bait fish. Super stoked. I love to fish a swim bait pretty much all year, but really later in the year. So I have a bunch of different sizes, those 2 different sizes, a bunch of different colors, but then this is the bigger size. Let me kind of give you a size comparison between the 2 3/4 and the 3 1/4, because even though it's only a 1/2 inch size difference, the overall bait size is a little bit bigger. and you get really a little bit bigger size profile. Really cool little difference there. Both smaller than average swim baits. Smallmouth in particular don't need a giant bait to catch giant fish. In fact, some of my biggest smallmouth I've ever caught have been on really small baits. And the reason for that is that they're keying in on smaller bait fish. They have smaller mouths, so the smaller baits just kind of give them something to key in on. And I'll kind of choose the size that I'm going with based on the size fish I'm fishing for, but also the time of year that I'm fishing. So those are all of the swim baits. Now included with that, he tossed me some of these ball head jigs. I actually think, as opposed to standard swim bait heads, which is more of like a minnow profile, these ball heads give the bait a lot more action. It's just a really small profile in front of the head of that bait. It lets the water flow around it really, really easily. And because of that, these swim baits can get the most action possible. Super, super stoked on that little dude. That's gonna catch me some giants this year. This little combo I can see catching some giants. This bait, I think it's Utopia color, mixed with this little ball head, which is 3/16 of an ounce with a little 3/0 hook. This is gonna be a deadly, deadly little combo. So these are the steady swimmers that I just showed you guys. Another swim bait that he just released. I don't even know if these are on the market yet. It's called the Bonneville. Has a little bit different profile. The tail shape is way different, but it's more of a shad-shaped body. This is really unique for when those fish are kind of getting around those shad in the mouths of the rivers. This bait is gonna work perfect because it's a little bit thicker body, or I guess taller body, and looks more like a shad as opposed to a little bait fish. Really, really cool little difference. I think you're gonna get a lot more action out of this bait as well, a lot more tail kick, because of how much larger that tail is on that bait. So the Bonneville, the steady swimmer, I'm gonna play around with both and kind of share with you guys my experiences and when I see each of these baits kind of shining for me. But just based on the way these baits look, this one looks like it's gonna have a little bit more tail kick. This one looks like it's gonna be a little bit of tighter wobble, but both will probably catch me some giant smallmouth. Those are the two different styles of swim baits. You have the Bonneville, the steady swimmer, and now we're gonna dive into the drop shot baits. I am such a geek, I'm such a nerd about drop shot fishing, because I think it's such a good technique to catch a lot of big fish. You can flip it away from the boat, kind of keep the boat away from it, or you can drop straight down on these fish. But it's just such a good way to get so many big bites. So I'm such a drop shot nerd. Now this bait here is called the Heckler. This is one of the baits that really caught my eye because it looks like a little goby. It's a little 2 3/4 inch profile, so it's a very small bait, but it has sort of a goby-ish profile with sort of a cross tail style to it. So because it's hand poured, it's going to be a very soft bait. This could be either on a drop shot or on a Ned rig. I could see this being successful. Kind of get it on bottom or get it close to bottom. This color here is called Green Pumpkin PBC. Really cool color. One of my all-time favorites is that Spanky color, which is pretty much that dark melon, dark green pumpkin with the purple, orange, and black flakes. So that matches that really, really well. It just looks like a lot of the gobies that we have around here. Now here's where I nerd out. These two baits are really the ones that kind of caught my attention and made me call Michael and be like, dude, what is the difference here and why do I need both of these baits? So he has a product called the Dropper and the Essential Swimmer. Both of these, straight out of the package, look very similar. The Essential Swimmer is going to be here on your left, and the Dropper is here on my right. Now, other than size, they look relatively similar, right? One of the biggest things that he said is that Dropper is a little bit firmer plastic and it doesn't have as many cuts in the bait, so it's gonna fall faster. The Dropper is basically made when you're sitting over those fish, vertically fishing them, dropping on them, and you want that bait to fall straight down. It's still gonna have movement when it gets down there, but it's gonna have a lot less movement and it's not gonna have as much line twist as the Essential Swimmer. So this is gonna be a perfect bait when I'm on that deep water bite and I wanna drop straight on their head. This little Dropper is super cool. I'm geeking out on this because I love fishing a drop shot over those deep water fish. So the Dropper is really, really a product I'm excited to get out there and fish with a lot. Now he sent me this Green Pumpkin P color, which is basically green pumpkin with a little bit of purple flake. He also sent me a couple other colors and sizes in that Dropper. That was 2 3/4 inch. Here's a little bit bigger size, 3 1/4 inch. Both in that Dropper profile. Super stoked. I cannot wait to get these on the water and actually see how they move and act and see how fish react to them. They're all made of a floating plastic, a really soft hand-poured plastic with that micro salt, which I think is a big deal. That floating plastic on a drop shot is going to keep this bait kind of sitting straight out off the hook, which is going to keep it in front of those fish's face a little bit longer and probably help you get some more bites. So these are the two different sizes in the Dropper. 3 1/4 inch, 2 3/4 inch. A little bit firmer bait but it still looks like it has natural movement. Then you have this little bulb on the end. This little bulb, I'm assuming, is just going to catch a little bit of water and cause this bait to have a little bit of a kind of shimmy, but not a ton of action, which is what I'm expecting and is what he told me is going to happen with these baits. So these are the two different sizes in the Essential Swimmer. This is a 2.75 and this is a 3.75. So again, you have those little bit different sizes in this. What's so unique is this bait has a ton more of those little cuts, and it's a lot softer bait. So this thing's gonna have a lot more movement on the drop shot hook, and similar overall profile, just a little bit softer bait. It's gonna have a lot more movement and action when you're down there dropping this bait. This for me is gonna be a bait that I'm gonna flip away from the boat when I wanna kind of get this bait away from the boat and set it in front of those fish, marinate in front of them, and let this bait kind of have as much action as possible. The Essential Swimmer is going to be the one that I go for. Then when I want to drop on them, I'm going to go with the dropper. The more that I think about it, now that I actually have the baits in my hand, it makes a lot more sense. But when I first was talking to Michael, I'm like, dude, what's the difference between the dropper and the Essential Swimmer? So that really is the difference. Essential Swimmer for when you want to flip to them or kind of make a cast to a very specific piece of cover, and the dropper when you just want to drop straight down on these fish and kind of hit them on the head and get them that way. Super stoked to get out there on the water and test these things out. Really excited to have some of these in my arsenal. I've been looking at them for a long time. I've seen them on Instagram for about a year now, and super stoked to get my hands on them and go catch some giant smallmouth. So if you guys are interested in checking out any of these products, I'm gonna leave the link to Venture Lures down below. He also sells almost predominantly through Tackle Warehouse, so you guys can order through there as well. But super awesome baits, all smallmouth focused, and Michael Simonton is a really good dude. So if there's anything you guys want to know about any of these products, hit me up in the comment section below. I'll be down there responding to each and every one of you guys. Again, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep this ball rolling. Let's grow this community to as big as we can possibly get it. 50,000, 100,000 subs. And go down there and check out all my other videos. As always, thank you guys for watching, and take care, tight lines. God bless. Pursue passion.